Hello, my name is Sky, and this is my review of G4 TV's Comic-Con '08 coverage. In general, I gotta say, very good job, and a very good job on the personalities. I was surprised that Adam Sessler was included, but he covered the video game side of things, and it was really neat for him to get there and mingle, and as well as talk to Mike Lee about the Marvel Online or Marvel Comics Online. Or is it DC Comics Online? Anyways, let's see. So overall, I have to say, good coverage of the comic books, of the merchandise, of the different movies and the panels. But my one thing in concern is that I'm kind of curious if G4 TV may be approaching Comic-Con with the wrong attitude, or if they may be pushing their attitude on the convention. And the reason why I say this is because what you see in the crowd is, for example, a parent walking around with his baby on his shoulders. You see people in homemade costumes. You see people who are there for their friends, people who they've waited a while. And so one of the first scenes is of Triumph the Insult Comic Dog, and they're purposely picking people so that there's a feed, a camera which followed around a couple different people, was the specific purpose of having Triumph later insult the person. And the guy couldn't do it. And I think part of that is because they didn't prepare the guy who works Triumph, but also for the guy to insult all people at Comic-Con, and right behind him there's a crowd of fans and people who were there for Comic-Con, not for G4 TV. I mean, conceivably it's all fans of G4 TV, but what is the spirit of the convention? People who normally don't have others that they can interact with. That this is something that they consider kind of a private attraction, and they can finally come to a place where they can share that attraction of material with other people. And as a result, that's why you can have people walking around in costumes, and but from a variety of different walks of life too. So that was the real interesting aspect, and you'll see that with all the different people in costumes who gathered around the stage. But so one of the problems is how G4 TV would basically plays up the whole insult of the fans, and it's not intentional. It started out as a whole insult at how the convention was run. Basically, how you have a huge convention, crowds of people, and yet it's packed, it's crowded. It seems like there's always this poor management on the part of the convention organizers to effectively put in enough rooms and enough places and enough floor space so that everybody can fit in and move around, and that way you're not creating any sort of traffic problems. Any other convention where you would have half the number of convention goers, it would work. But the thing about Comic-Con is that there's people everywhere, people doing all sorts of things left and right, and a variety of different likes and tastes. What is the common thing? The fact that, well, this is something friendly, something that everybody is welcome to and can participate in. So G4 comes in, and their attitude is, we are part of this subversive culture. We look down on almost everybody else, even ourselves. And if you're not part of that group, you can be part of the people we can mock. And so this plays out in some interesting dynamics throughout the show, and I think it was kind of a bad move on the part of G4 to basically have that sort of interaction with the fans. Interesting note was some of the panel coverage, or like the G4 panel, which wasn't taped. There's bits and pieces of it you can find online on heyolivia.com. But several people who waited in line to get into that panel weren't able to, because other people basically sat on other panels and just stayed in the room, didn't leave. So another potential mismanagement part on the con. one of the complaints I heard is not enough coverage of the comics. Something else I noticed was that they went to talk to Kevin Smith and Seth Rogen and the other stars for Mike and Miri Make a Porno. Now, that's an interesting film, and I think part of it is that films like The Pineapple Express and that film are part of what is the target audience for G4 TV. It really seems that they are purposely aiming for the demographic that goes to those types of films. And so in a way, G4 TV is is basically having a continuous appeal to that type of audience. And as a result, yes, they're going to get the millions of people who like those type of films, but at the same time, they're kind of alienating a lot of people who aren't interested in those type of films. So, what kind of audience are you seeing at Comic-Con? What sort of audience do you see at E3? Is G4 TV doing what it can to appeal to those audiences? Let's see. So, and the other interesting aspect is how Hollywood is basically supplanting Comic-Con and using that as part of their mechanism for gauging fan reaction and fan appeal. And I think this is the case with Watchmen, in how you have basically a very celebrated famous director come forward and say, I'm doing this project, I'm doing that project. By the way, I'm thinking about doing this project, or I'm getting the green light to start looking into this project. So that'll get a fan reaction, and also some fan feedback. And since, I guess the way that part of Hollywood works is the funding and different materials start coming together, personnel start coming together to create a script, start working on something, and then as it keeps going on. So you have these more off-the-wall, out-there projects like Watchmen. So how does the producers and the director justify basically a very unique project that is going to really is meant it was created originally for a niche audience. So how are you going to make that into a broad audience appeal? And I think that's part of the mechanism, or how they're using Comic-Con, is to gauge that broader audience appeal. And then on top of that, just generate hype. Because if you want to announce something, you want to draw attention to something, have a press conference. Where better to have a press conference than where you're going to have a ton of people who are interested in your type of work or the type of project that you are proposing. So, very interesting comment I heard about The Dark Knight is it appeals to the 4 quadrants of the audience: men and women, young and old. And to me, well, that's when you have star power, and then you have just a unique take on the material, and then on top of that, just such a pop culture hype, focused and sort of medium that is Batman. Yeah, you're going to get all that. Let's see. So, like I said, good coverage. Was surprised at the video game coverage, but it made sense because since there's DC Universe Online. And let's see. So, and good job by the personalities on the air. So, what else? Yeah. So, good job, G4 TV. Keep up the good work.
This guy over here borrowed my dog breath. Honestly, there are more virgins. There are so many virgins here, it's enough to make a terrorist jealous.
Oh.
Wow. Even I am put on my...
What happened to Captain Jack Sparrow? Captain Jack off 3 times a week Sparrow. Oh, wait.
I was going to ask you what you're most excited to see at Comic-Con, but apparently it's just all this intro. Yeah.
Well, it's all these great people, Because what I love about comic book fans, they live in the world of fantasy. A world where they can talk to women. Ah, yes. And what's incredible? It's a huge crowd of nerds here. A huge crowd of great kids here. And what people aren't seeing is that right behind them